Welcome everyone to 1 Million Mind. Today we have an exciting show. Welcome Balaji. How are you today?
Oh, excellent. By the way, Happy New Year to our viewers. And this is the first episode this year we're doing. There's a bunch of rain and floods and whatnot, but thankfully, where I am, nothing got impacted. So I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
That's good. Awesome. Doing well. Happy New Year to you and the audience too. Yes, I've been going down so many rabbit holes in the AI piece. It's been fun. I forgot this was the first one because it feels like a long time for this year. Just because there's so much information that I've read in the last 7 days from predictions, from just being able to get my hands on these tools. So that's what I'm excited to share. So let's do this. As far as what we're going to be doing, Balaji and I were able to build some, I'll call it basic systems or apps that we were able to play around because we've done a lot of theory. And the best way, at least I learned, is being able to, create something so that we can, get our a lot of details ironed out. And I have to say, it's been pretty fun process. So that I want us to, we're both going to show some of the very basic apps we created so that you don't have to use the open AI interface on the playground. You can create this on a website, on a mobile app, right? As long as the back end is open AI. So that's what I wanted to show. But before we get there, I wanted to talk about the top news in the last 48 hours is Microsoft investing in OpenAI. So I know that's I'm excited for that because I feel like OpenAI immediately gets the distribution through Microsoft. Microsoft instead of starting from scratch, get a product that is ready to go to market. It just feels like a great marriage, and being able to kind of short circuit a lot of years of development for Microsoft. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think that's a smart move from Microsoft side. I think the biggest impact, or actually the biggest lack thereof for Microsoft is Bing engine, right? I think it's going to give them a lot of ammunition to go head to head with Google, right? That's the first thought that comes to mind. As always, I think Microsoft has a deeper footprint into everybody's lives with their operating system. So I'm curious to see what part of this gets into the operating system itself or their Visual Studio or any Office products. I think they can literally incorporate some of the stuff here from into every one of their revenue streams.
Yeah, like a GitHub pilot into their Visual Studio,
Yeah, GitHub
some kind of
Copilot, right? That's already using the Codex model. Yeah. So
there's to teams, right? Being able to maybe auto respond or have ask questions or take notes. The opportunities ended, so I'm excited about it. I want to see how this plays out. I know it's a very unique arrangement that they have with some kind of investment, and they can make so much, and then all the equity goes back to OpenAI. Anyway, the that detail is not as important for us, but it was just a very interestingly structured agreement. But I think the opportunities of how this is going to play out is going to be great. I know Google has a under wraps thing that they're developing. DeepMind as own competitor to a GPT. So I just want to see how this all plays out. But from a neutral spectator or people who are interested in the technology and being as entrepreneurs, there is just a wealth of opportunity if you feel like we are in the early stages of it, because especially if there's a version of GPT-4 coming out in Q1, end of Q1, I just think there's going to be more excitement around this. So when I looked at it, right, I know you and I are working on some different use cases, but just simple use cases we were thinking about is, hey, what are some GPT prompts? Because the same Google search, when I do search for certain things versus when my kids do, my wife does it, we use different prompts and brings back different quality of results, right? So similarly, GPT is a very powerful technology, but if you don't use the right prompts, you're not going to really hone in on the best possible answer. So that's one. Copywriting is a great use case that I saw where you can personalize it. Some automations can be done to be able to respond to whether marketing, respond to email, LinkedIn DMs. This copywriting is a big opportunity like early on. And then just I know a lot of people are going through layoffs or at least moving companies. They want to move into the AI space, Web3, whatever, right? This is I can see where this tool could help them maybe personalize their resume, their cover letters, and all that. So along those lines, when where I built the one tool that was basically just a simple overlay on top of GPT, but do you see any use cases that jump out to you, Balaji, as we thinking through just
I,
simple use
I
cases?
think you covered a lot of examples, and I think there's a lot more. I think it's only bound by your imagination. In a sense, I see it's going to be a sort of your virtual assistant for your language prowess. That's one angle at it, right? Because people might have great ideas, or maybe they don't come up with great marketing content to propagate it. And a lot of these can be assisted with this because it learned the data from the past and great marketing campaigns or whatever has been done in the last whatever known history of internet, right? So that's one angle to look at it. I think they're getting specialized model for coding, right? And I think more and more specialized models are going to come up depending on the use case. But I think from what we have, I think the initial, like you mentioned, right, initial attraction is towards how can I perfect my draft copy that I have, right? With a few hints that I want to throw at something, and then it comes up with a nice polished message. Um, uh, yeah, that's a great beginner use case.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it before we got online. Was also at this point, it's not where, or maybe we have not gone to a prompt where it is like it can autonomously do things, right? We still need human in the loop, at least with what
Right.
we've seen so far. I don't know how far we're gonna go with the GPT-4, but at this point, it gets us 70-80% of the way, but there has to be some human intervention to at least validate or double check some of the things that are doing, proof check before we have a final product. But it is definitely going to be a big time saver. I think I was thinking about the customer service aspect of things. Can one or two people now manage what 8 or 10 people could do? I can easily see that happening. So I'm excited about all the prospects. But let's jump into the tool that you created for our demo, and I'm excited to see through this and play with it and just show the audience what you did.
Sure.
Give it a
So I
minute.
think before this episode, me and Rajni, we were discussing what's the minimum we can do. It should not be elaborate coding. Can we take assistance from the code generators? Again, do the absolute minimum to showcase. So with that in mind, I started this yesterday morning. Probably I spent 3 hours total, I would say, with 1 hour just wandering down some rabbit holes, which often at times happens, right? I'm 46, so just the head goes all over the place. So if I have to say that how much exactly time it took, maybe it's 2 to 3 hours, somewhere in between. Um, but I think a lot of this is, I think, for the people who are actually coding day in and day out. I'm not, again, I no longer code on a daily basis, but I'm fairly aware of how to get things done. So with that in mind, I think let's bring this up. So my initial thought here is to where do we go? I mean, there's so many API calls and what. So I kind of narrowed in on one thing, which is prompt engineering. Like, how can I show, okay, this model is, it can answer any question, right? So how can I put some ring fence around it, say, hey, become an expert on this. So I kind of chose this become a carrier council expert, and focus on just those questions, and anything outside that it should not answer. Anything within the domain it should answer. So I kind of that's the basic model that I wanted to show, basic app. So with that said, so the general idea here is take a browser input, pass it on to a proxy, which is basically filtering or adding prompt engineering to it, and send it to OpenAI, get the response back. This way, it's not, whatever you type is not going directly to OpenAI. Just like if you open a prompt like chat.openai.com, right? That takes anything and everything and responds back to you. So this particular one, because I inserted this proxy script, which is going to modify what you're sending or alter in some shape or form, in a more generic sense, it just gives the AI engine a hint. Say, hey, you are this. Answer it like that. So basics, you just, if you have Visual Studio Code, open it up, open the terminal. There is a way to create a templated React app, which is npx create React app. ChatGPT demo is the name of that folder. And you just sit there. It just takes a couple of minutes, depending on your time. It takes a couple of minutes, and you have this folder ready with all the files. Just browse the folder and start working on it. That's as simple as that. And then I added, because I'm lazy, I just added this OpenAI API proxy into the same project. It's ideally they are two different things. This proxy is an API proxy, and then there is a React app. And then you just need a bunch of packages, the course and OpenAI, obviously. So that's the beginner step. And then I got to my Visual Studio, which I opened this folder, ChatGPT demo, and then I inserted this proxy module. So just so you know, I'm working on only two files here, OpenAI and the app.js. So the OpenAI proxy is the first thing that you're tinkering with. You go to, let's say, OpenAI, get yourself an account, create a key, and you find out your org. I think there's an org ID here. You need an org ID, and then you need a API key. You can create a key, and then you plug it into configuration. So again, don't worry about this key. I'm going to delete it. So for now, it's active. Again, ideally, you would read it from environment, or you just don't want to plug all of this into the code. But again, it's quick and dirty. What else? So we are using Express as your web request respond type of engine. So the port is 3001. It's going to listen there for API. You create a new open API, pass on the configuration. It's going to get ready. Now, we are constructing a post API endpoint, and then we are saying, hey, pass me a message, and then I'll respond to you. So this is the extra stuff that I added, right? Again, this can be anything. You can say, pretend you are Ryan Reynolds, or you pretend you are some Einstein, right? You can basically say, pretend this, pretend that. That's kind of giving the hint to the AI engine saying, hey, you don't want to answer everything, but you are doing this. You can add a few more if you want to be, want it to have a character. You can say, hey, be jovial, or be this, or be sassy, or whatever it is, right? You can give hints. So here you can see I'm giving it, pretend that you are a job recruiter. You help candidates figure out ideal career path, provide response in a very objective, and list clearly the options, right? Format the response with HTML tags. This is something that I added along the way, because it gives you text, but you can always ask it to add HTML, because it knows coding too. So I'm asking it to format it. And even specifically, I'm saying use HTML description lists if appropriate. Provide HTML break before the list items. So it saves me some of the formatting work later. I don't want to bring it all to the front. Ignore any question not related to career counseling. So with that being said, I'm just giving you, recruiter, how can I help you today? And the candidate saying, I'm starting out, blah, blah, blah. Sure. And then, so it's all primed and ready to go. And then I pass the candidate message, and whatever it comes back is recruiter response. That's basically it. And max tokens is the amount of, I think the math is every, one token is a half a word type of a math for pricing purposes. So you want to be cognizant of this. You don't want it to be running a lot of response. So I just put it in 250 because I'm doing HTML. I mean, it's going to come back with extra tags in there. That's literally it. So it's going to pass this along, get the response, and put it back as a response text. Now comes the app.js, which is basically going to take your input and send it to the localhost 3001, which is the API endpoint, and post it. And this is the text. And whatever it gets back, it puts it on a page. And let's look at what we have here. So this is basically it. So this is the app whatever the React app, and you have expert career council, and you just type whatever questions, and let's see what it comes back with. There you go. So now I provided it with a question of mass communication. So you want to make sure what it comes back is related to that, and it looks like it is. And it has nicely formatted it. I didn't do any formatting, right? It just formatted it for me. And it's tucking topic and detail, topic detail, right? And you want to try something else, Rajni?
Chemical engineering.
What's that?
Chemical engineering.
Chemical. That's your favorite, right?
Yes, that's the one I fell into. So
let's go.
Suffer.
Oh, there's a lot. Congratulations on your graduation. Here are a few career options. There you go. Chemical engineer, research scientist, quality control analyst, chemical technician.
That's awesome. Even I didn't know what you could do.
So just to test, right?
Teach me to build a. There.
Let's see what happens here. Hopefully it is constrained. There you go. See, I'm sorry, I don't think I can help you with that. However, so I think that's what you wanted to show here, right? How you're constraining it so it doesn't go answer every other random question that pops up.
That's fun. That's awesome though. I know I'm not as technical as you, but the bottom line is how you control everything just from the prompts. And even though it's just a random question, it's still offering you career advice. That's what I like about it. And it's actually
absolutely.
Pretty on point too. It's not like it's giving you random nonsense too, so that's good.
Do you want to try a different prompt? Again, it's just a question of what you can type in here. What do you want to pretend to be? Pretend you are what?
Pretend you are Albert Einstein. Will that help? Or I don't know if they have enough on it, so we can do like you ask basically like character.ai. You pretend like you're talking to different characters, right? So any character.
Maybe Steve Jobs, or you want to try
Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or
there you go, Elon
Bill
Musk.
Gates. Yeah.
What else? Okay, so Elon. Sure. You want to provide a sample?
Yes, they drop out of school. I'm just kidding.
So Elon, how can I help you today? What are you asking Elon?
We are asking where does he see
Twitter?
Yes. Oh my
God. Elon is like, yeah. You want Elon to respond?
Yeah. So we have to come up with
sample response, right?
Yeah, he'll say it's a hard work, but we are headed the right direction. He doesn't ever say anything politically correct like that, but it's okay.
All right, let's try. Ask Elon, right? So we just save that, and we restart the thing. We have to change one more thing. Header.
Oh, that one says. Okay. That's cool though. Like the old HTML, everything is being.
There you go. Okay, ask Elon. Let's see what happens here.
What is happening with SpaceX?
I'm going to add my.
Oh my
There you
goodness.
go. SpaceX. We're making great progress on our mission to make space travel more accessible. There you go. See? Successfully launched and landed the Falcon 9, and we currently work in development of Heavy. So again, this is a very bland response, right? But then if you want it to be spiced up like how Elon would do it, you might have to give it hints like how the character behaves, right?
Correct.
So
So we gave it a
I
very politically correct answer, so it's kind of building up that style. But if you actually took two or three, even Twitter tweets from Elon, put it there with the right questions, then it'll
exactly, we should do
smart it
that.
out.
We should give that example, right? Go to his Twitter and then take few questions, answer sessions, and how he responds, and throw it in there, and then see what this thing comes up with. So it's a fun experiment. So again, I
That's
think the
amazing.
objective here is with the short time, how can you insert yourself in the process as a programmer? How can you modify to get some uniqueness in the whole mix? That's what I was going for. So
That was very cool. That thank you for walking us. This is it's exciting how even I mean, you have a little bit more technology. Like mine was without the no code apps, but the bottom line is very similar concept. But you can read all about it. But when I played with it, it actually gave me a little bit more confidence on what's possible, what are the parameters, and how can you get a little bit more power out of this whole relationship too. So it's pretty cool.
okay, let's
All right.
bring that up.
So
There you go.
is it big enough for you to see?
I think you can go a little bit bigger. I can see simplifier. I can see type here, but it's a little fuzzy because it's black and
Or
white.
I might be nah. Okay, that's why. As usual, I'm sharing the wrong tab. So
There
is
you
it good
go.
now?
Much bigger.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I went down the path of no code, and again on a website called Build Space, where a lot of these I highly recommend it because it was very useful for me. A lot of builders in the machine learning ML AI space go in there, put their notes on what they're building, simplifying things for people like who are just starting out, just to play around, right? So he had built a tool called "Explain It to Me Like I'm Five," right? So that's where the simplifier came from because you have to create a name for the app, and all the other names were taken. So I said, okay, I don't want to spend time on app naming, but the bottom line is what I'm going to show you is it's a very similar. I'll go behind the scenes in a little bit, but it's very similar to what Balaji just showed. There's input you take from the user, you hit generate, and then the output comes back. So behind the scene, the same concept of creating an API connection to OpenAI, and then having some specific constraints on what we're asking, how the responses needs to be, and that's where the whole tool is. So how
So
to play with mind.
what's more interesting from your approach, Rajni, is that you are actually going with no code, right? At least I tinker with
Yes,
some code for a couple of hours, but yours is like, how can I use the AI to come up with the code so I don't have to code anything? That's very interesting.
yes. And it took me because I haven't coded in a long time, but it took me, I'm going to say, actual 2 to 3 hours. They say it can happen in 15 minutes. It didn't happen for 15 minutes, but about 2 hours because I had a lot of errors from just setting it up. But once I set it up, it was easy. But right now, to your point, those who code can go down the path of what Balaji did. Those who can't code, Bubble.io, there's a free account. You can go create this and then play around, just change the prompts. I think that Balaji just showed. I don't want to repeat it, but the bottom line is there's so many tools you can build right now, whether you do it for money, whether you do it for doing it for fun, you can absolutely need to go start playing around with it and maybe start focusing on a certain vertical and being able to provide value to them, right? So that'll be the way to go about it. So what this does, I actually am just going to walk you through what happens. So if you say how to play Minecraft, if I hit generate, it basically the workflow happens this way. Once a button is clicked, call is being made to the OpenAI platform, and so it's saying how to play Minecraft in 5 concise steps. So that ran. So it comes back with install the game, create a world, gather resources, explore structure. So what I do next was I took this set of responses. Then you'll see it. So took that, and then I actually made it. How do you, expand on those 5 steps? So now instead of just install, you'll go through a little bit more details about exactly. Okay, I went to the last part, but basically it goes into a little bit more detail on. Okay, I'm going to stop it.
This is
I'm
very
going to go
interesting
one more.
because not only you can use no code, now you're building a pipeline, right? You're taking one and inserting to the next stage. Uh, Again, I think if you look at it pound for pound, I think you're achieving more than what I achieved for 2 hours, right? It's basically you're now taking one thing and inserting to the next, and you're just following a workflow here.
Correct. And I think that's when you actually nest it, it gets a little bit more interesting because I took the data out of the first API call, and then I said, hey, by the way, take those and expand on it. You can actually add stories. You can go crazy. I'll show what I did. But the bottom line is it
Right.
took that. So you basically train, you can do this multiple times, right? Take something, clean it, or add to it. So there's like 2 or 3 calls to it before you get an output that is what I will consider a little bit more cleaned up or a little bit more on point. So it's a nested way of doing this. So those 5 bullet points now, as you can tell, have
Become
now
paragraphs.
grown
Yeah.
into the paragraphs that it could be used. And then the next step is just basically being able to show that in here. So I'm gonna share my tab. So just again, mm, bubble dot. If you guys haven't used it, it was simple. This was my workflow. When a button is clicked, you made the call, and it tells you this is all. This the whole magic was in once you have all the settings done. The most important thing is just this
There you
explain,
go.
and then
Yeah.
the user
Maybe
test
zoom
input.
it a little tad bit more. I
A little
think
more.
it'll be readable. Ah, there you go. Okay, much better.
It went out of the screen. Like, oh, I should be able to drag it back in here. Okay, is
Yeah,
that
there you go.
better?
Yep, yep.
So 5 concise steps, and then the same tokens and stuff you talk through. That's all it is. And then once that comes in, so I say, okay, this 5 steps that just came through, expand, explain why each step, and then you can say add stories to each step and whatever. It takes that result that came from the first call, and then it takes a little bit more. Each one of the step get into more of a detail. So it
Right.
just to your point, it gets really interesting how you can, and you can go do this 3 or 4 times if you want to like build on it. I This one just was a fun thing to do for me, but it's definitely a very first time, of course, just for the API connections, everything. The work took me a while, but now that I have that going, I think we should be able to create some things and play around. I want to really play around some of the use cases I talked about, copywriting, right? You talked about copywriting, GPT prompt, but I think you and I briefly talked about this. Is how do we make personalizing at a scale, right? If you have a copyright or email you're sending somebody for marketing, can you say, hey, by the way, take the same copy, create one version for engineers, create one version for marketing people, create one version
Right.
for LinkedIn, and I think
Because
all
often at
that really.
times the email list is what do you call it? Separated in different demographics, right? So each person
Right.
responds to a different type of a message, and this is going to be really powerful. Like if you are able to come up with these prompt engineering sets, and you have your primary approved marketing message, and you can keep inserting these and say modify it this way, modify it that way, come up with so many combinations of the same thing.
Absolutely. I'm excited. So what I would love for us to do is now that I think we've played around with what I'll consider the training layer, but if you can, or the prompt layer, I should say, but what if you can, hone in on the data, right? What if you can train on a very specific data? So that's what I want to play around next is right now, this is all based on openly available information within the OpenAI platform database. So now if I say, okay, I'm going to get a specific data from a company, from a healthcare system, from my own Fitbit, we've put it in there. Can I interface with it saying, hey, how much average have I gotten sleep? Yes, your apps do that, but you can build it on your own. And then there are open system available on Kaggle. A lot of government agencies have open systems, databases that you can use. as long as not for commercial use, you just for playing around, you can get those. I know some databases I want to load into this, train it, and be able to interact on a very normal language basis. So if I can build on that, right? So if you are a company and you have 2 years of data on most trouble tickets that are coming in from your clients, customers. Imagine being able to train your model on that. And then instead of whenever somebody, right now, when I go to chat and ask a question, it just says, go to this page. Even in TurboTax, if I ask a question, mostly it says, go to this reference and read. I don't want to
Right,
read. I
right.
want to know the answers. So if you can actually make that all the reference material all being consumed with the question answer format that people have already asked, imagine how much more powerful a tool can actually step you through it rather than giving you a link to go read. So it's
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
see amazing opportunity here. Good.
Yeah, it's going to save a ton of time, right? It just, I think if we are going through the same process and walking people through in a conversational style, I think it's going to be much more effective then, because people presented with the paragraph, I think we have the saying, right? It just just when you look at this, I think some people read the key parts and focus on other things, or like me, I skip every other word for whatever reason. Like it's fast reading, skip every other word, try to understand. No, I'm just kidding. But again, I think that's the problem, right? People no longer read the whole paragraph anymore. Is my belief, right? It's becoming very tough, and there's very few people
Yeah,
probably who read the whole paragraph.
I'm just wondering, like, you know, back in the day, I think we've made fun of this, or at least I've had with my families. We had to like memorize states and the capitals and all that fun stuff because we didn't have Google. The closest
Correct.
thing was you had to go to a library book to get these information. That's become almost useless information for me now, other than maybe winning a trivia competition. It's not really useful. But if you kind of fast forward this, we did 4 years of engineering, and our doctors do 7 years of this. Nothing can replace hands-on experience, but from a knowledge perspective, if I can load everything that you learn in 4 years of college into a model, I can just question it to retrieve it because I'm going to guarantee you I lost 80% of everything I've learned, right? So if you can have that in your pocket, able to reference anything you need, I just think the system of education, universities, everything needs to
Right.
change to keep up with this, right? So it's going to be
Right,
interesting.
absolutely. I think the power of choice is still yours. I think a lot of fear around this technology, right? Oh, it's going to take over that. It's going to take over this. But I think you still reserve the power of choice. You're just consulting something. Let's take it that way, right? I think it's all past data. It's nothing current. Maybe in the future it'll all be current to the up to the second. But right now it's probably what 2 years old. Nothing in
Mhm.
these in models are current. So it's kind of a what do you call it, a reference book of sorts, right? It's for anything you want to ask it, and still the power of choice and what you want to do with it is yours, and that's what is exciting. Put you
It
back on
is.
the driver's
I
seat
know.
again, right? Save you time, and
I
you're
know.
still in the driver's seat. I like that idea.
Yeah, I mean, I know the next one's coming with a lot more video generation capability too. So it's just gonna and it's gonna keep increasing. Right? We are in 3, 4, 5. What will happen in 20? Nobody knows. But I just feel like this is going to be a transformational technology, and we're going through this just like internet happened, right? So I think it will be good for people to at least be aware of. Right now, my kids are 10 and 12. They saw me creating this, so they were interfaced with it, they're interacting with it. They're like, oh, so my son's first question is, so it can write homework for me? So that was his. So he was excited about it, and of course, immediately his elder sister says, no, 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 you cannot do that. That would be cheating. So there's so much to be still, discovered in it, and both sides to it. I'm just excited. I know it's early, but I'm looking forward to building more stuff with your biology and showing our audience. I'm just excited about where this technology is taking us. So
Yeah,
with that,
absolutely. Maybe the next one we'll try to build how to train a small model, right, by yourself, and show how you can do it. Hopefully, it's a couple of hours of work, but we'll see. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, this has been a fun episode.
thanks everyone. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Till then, bye.
Bye.